So yesterday we have actually performed a general overview for understanding the things here, at least as much as possible. And today I will start this section, and until to the part that frames exist here, we will be processing many things from this area to be able to understand how a machine actually can process the human language and how they can actually relate different documents based on the word sequences or topicality or these type of things. So I believe in this lecture our time will be good enough until to the maybe this area, and once we come to the end of this section, I believe it will be good enough to understand these things further. So the first one is extractive summary. Let me read the definition here, then I will be able to explain it a little better. Extractive summary is a summary with the key points from an existing article. An extractive summary takes the only most important and main points of an entire article. So I will show you a language model from Google to be able to explain why we need to understand the summarization methodologies. I will show you a section from here. We have two different sentences or sentence types here. It says Pegasus is mythical, it is pure white, it names the model, it is a cool name. And the summarizer, it takes two other sentences and it filters out. So do you know why do you think that this language model chooses these two and filters other two out? Any guess? And yes?
I would say pure white and cool name are subjective items.
Yes, definitely. That's right. So this language model, Pegasus, it is created by Google or Googlers, let's say. And their purpose with this language model is actually differentiating opinions or opinion-based statements from the factual statements or the factoids or factoids. And the other purpose here is, most of the time, in feature snippets or in the web answers, you won't actually see opinions. If there is a question there, like how to cook potato or how to hunt a deer or something, most of the time the answer doesn't include the words like cool or meat or pure or these type of things, because these words are not that objective or factoid. So in this case, the search engine, let me just explain it from this. So let's say we have these documents here and we will need to rank these documents according to their relevance. So we have a couple of options here. One is we can check entire document from end to end. We can process everything as much as possible. Again, end to end, but it will be costlier. So in this case, we will need to rank and understand these things in a predictive way. And let's say the search engine puts a kind of border to just this area, and they assume that if the initial section, the most critical section above the fault area or initial contact area with the users, if this initial section is good enough, responsive enough, relevant enough, in other words, if the summary section is good enough, then they can actually take that document and see it as a candidate. Even if overall, as general, a document is good enough, if its main contact area, the most critical section, this section, if it is not good enough, it's still actually, it can be filtered out. Still, it might not rank in a good way. And the Pegasus here is actually for compressing all of these texts. They actually take big chunks of text and then they compress them, then they actually clean all of the opinion-based sentences, and then they actually check the rest of the sections or rest of the documents. And it actually helps search engines to understand the quality documents in a cheaper way, because checking only a few sentences per document is way much easier than checking everything. A few times, actually, in NordVPN 2, if you're open for some A/B tests, we can also try it because it is a strong domain. But even if I don't complete any sentence, let's say I am writing here something like, I am just giving a random broken sentence flow here. Let's say giving, I don't know, let's say giving Apple, then I write here understanding the VPN and VPN working principles. let's say require, then I put a space and I continue from here with a that, let's say, and I write something else, a random word sequence here, let's say VPN types are, let's say, are X, Y, Z, etc. And then here I write something stupid again, let's say cutting the banana. So if you write such a thing into the NordVPN, the thing is, even if nothing makes sense in these word sequences, initially you can find out that Google actually indexes these and puts it into the results. It's possible because with authoritative websites, we have tried it many times. We have written things like for X or at X and other things, and we didn't complete even a single sentence, and still actually it ranked there. So the point here is, at the beginning, the search engine doesn't understand what you say. They just check whether the specific words or specific related words appear there or not. If it appears, and if this appearance is good enough, especially for in the initial section, initially it ranks, but when they check the document and when they see that the sentences are broken and nothing makes sense, then they remove it from the index. So it means that initially, search engine does different things after the indexation at least. And the Pegasus here is just an example, and this concept, extractive summary, it is just a concept to be able to explain how we can actually write a better summarization. So the key in the extractive summary is that, basically, let's say these are the document parts, let's say sentence structures here. In the extractive summary, the only thing that actually we do is that we just choose the most key sentences. We choose 3 or 2 sentences across different sections of the document, and we extract them. Then we put them into another paragraph, and then we tell that this is the extractive summary. So it is important a little, because when you use extractive summary, it means that there are key sentences, key prominent sentences in the document, and these are actually giving the overall topicality. And these things are the main answers to be able to actually understand the document. There is one more summarization methodology. It is called abstractive summary. So the difference between extractive summary and abstractive summary is that the sentences in the extractive summary, it already exists in the document. We just take them. In the abstractive one, it doesn't exist. We actually start to generate new sentences. And the concept of general summary, it actually comes unification of extractive and abstractive summary. So in this case, sometimes if you check certain Google blog posts, you can find some samples that some sentences from the introduction is repeated at the bottom areas. And at the moment in Google Docs too, there is a summarization area, and it says an auto-generated summary suggestion is available for this document. When I click here, they might actually give a kind of key sentence, and they say that this document describes the different types of ranking methods and their importance. So from search engine point of view, this entire document is actually just about that. And as you see in this sample, I was actually talking about that too. I was telling that a search engine might rank documents by looking at entire document, but it will be costlier. So they actually check the initial section first, and if it exceeds a certain threshold, it means that it is good. And at the same time, when it comes to using these content briefs, let's say what is VPN example here, it says you will need to give an overall definition of the VPN, then we will need to give the importance of VPN, popularity, and it might include numeric values like total count of the users or total count of the maybe VPN apps, etc. Usage amount, how many people is actually using it, how many times they are using, usage reasons, 2 main benefits, inventor of the VPN, the first VPN invention process, why it is called as VPN and first VPN and its name, and etc. So basically, to be able to explain what is a VPN section, this is our general introductory area. The key point here is that if you don't understand what extractive summary is, you won't be able to write a really good introductory section, because there are a couple of problems here. Let me explain. You might write a kind of sample explanation here. Any kinds of paragraph can exist here. But if this introductory area, if they don't have any kinds of relevance with these sub-heading sections or with these areas, it means that actually this introductory area is not completing these subsections. So you already know that actually the search engine, they actually rewrite the titles. I will try to show you a simple research from the past. This research says web search results summarization, title selection algorithms, and user satisfaction. So in this research paper, the most important person is actually here, Tapaz Kanungo, a Japanese person, a researcher, scientist. And the person here explains that if the chosen title is not compatible with the chosen document, it means that it is misleading. At the same time, a user click or a user visit, they actually have multiple purposes, multiple intents. And if the title and the document, if they are not convenient to each other, if they are not completing each other, if there are gaps between these things, or if the context is broken, it means that actually they will need to rewrite the title. So if you see that the search engine actually rewrites your title or rewrites your description area, that it means that actually they think that your title is not reflecting your document. And to be able to understand the concept of extractive summary, abstractive summary, and general summary, we will actually need to understand that when you write your introductory area, the first paragraph, you will need to actually give a summary of everything just appear here, especially heading 2s rather than heading 3s. For instance, the extractive summary or general summary for this heading 2, it will touch all of these heading 3s. So basically whatever we tell here, we will just repeat it in this area by expanding it even further. And to be able to do that, when you need to write an extractive summary, if we talk about types of VPN here, then benefits of VPN here, let's say, then in this H2, we have also how to set up our installation methodologies and some other things also we are talking here. And we will need to actually touch all these individual areas as much as possible. And while doing that, you will need to use some common words. For example, if I open a document, let's say NordVPN, and let's say what is a VPN. So let me just open this section. If I can't open because still I am located in Turkey and it doesn't let me to open sometimes. I need to use a VPN. Okay, let me just try. There is a better way. Let me just use the Google Cache. Okay. So this is our document here, and we here actually explain how does VPN tunneling work or how the VPN servers operate, and we have some CTAs here. You can use this extension. It is actually called multi-search, multi-jump. And if I may open it, it will be easier to demonstrate, but it is, okay, I will need to open a different website maybe. Of course, all of them is from the, what is the VPN? Let me just search. No, sorry, Kaspersky maybe it can open, yes. So when I click to this one, there will be a kind of search bar here. The advantage of this search bar, I can actually search multiple words at the same time. For example, here I have searched for the word VPN, type, and benefit at the same time, and these extensions, they actually lighted all of them. The thing here is that when we check the word VPN, it appears in entire document all the time, but the word type doesn't appear that much. And here we have the word type, here we have the word type, but after that we don't have it that much. The word type doesn't appear anymore. So it means that the search engine, when they actually look at your document, when they start to have these co-occurrence matrices, they will also check the words that appear at the right, the words that appear at the left of this specific phrase or concept. They will also try to see what kinds of words appear where exactly in the document. Then they will start to create a context vector. A vector means just a line. And any line here, they actually represent different things. The thing here is that most documents today on the web, they have usually a broken context. By saying broken context, I mean something like that. Their context starts from here, comes like that, then they suddenly start to talk about something else, and they start to come back to the topic. So from search engine point of view, the best possible contextual vector is actually a straight line. From beginning to the end, we talk about the same thing by completing every section. But when it comes to the general web content, usually it is scattered and the context is distributed, sometimes closely related, sometimes about distant things. And that's why question answering methodologies is really important, and we will actually dive into them a lot. But basically, when we have this introductory area, you will need to use common words from these headings while answering these things. And that's why understanding actually extractive summary is important, because in the extractive summary, you will need to take a certain sentence from this area and you will need to put it into here again. And when it comes to abstractive summary, you will need to imagine what you are writing in this zone, and you will need to even talk about it here too. And sometimes, let's say there is a document here, when you write to the bottom area, you will need to go up and you will need to change a couple of things. So when we say straight context line, we actually mean that words that appear in the document, they will appear in a balanced way. And at the same time, at the beginning, whatever we write or tell in this introductory area, it will be unification of all of the subsections. So I guess I was able to explain these three things. Do you have any question for this?
Hi, one question for me. I wonder how Google calculates that contextual vector. Because let's say in the middle of text we have a paragraph where we kind of talk about the topic, but it's a bit also talking about other things, and how to measure if the contextual is...
Okay. I can maybe try to give a couple of examples. Let's say, when we say the context vector or not diluting the context, it is actually about always staying on the same thing. If I write here a question like, let's say, what is the definition of, let's say, VPN? And at the start, if I say VPN is important, so here, for example, this is a destructive context because the question says definition of VPN. But here I just say it is important, but question doesn't ask, is VPN important? So if the question would be like this answer would be perfect for this. But when it comes to this one, my sentences actually, they should start in a different way. So when we say the definition, to be able to define something, you need to give its function and its benefit, and with the problem that actually it solves. In this case, there are a couple of sentence structures that we can use. One is VPN provides, it might be. Or directly we can use a definitive sentence by saying VPN, or you can also use its long version here, etc., virtual blah blah blah. And then you can tell here that VPN is a technology for etc. The word that you just use here after the is a, it is actually a classifier. If you use the wrong word, it will affect your overall relevance. You can say a technology, but the word technology might be maybe too distant, and you might need to use a different word here. Maybe we should tell a browsing technology, let's say, by protecting the private information, such as etc. etc. So now the word browsing might actually bring context closer to your topic. But when it comes to answering the question, it should always be direct. It shouldn't have fluff. It shouldn't actually talk about something else like VPN is important and VPN is a fundamental need for everyone, etc. So these are not about this definition. And if you continue from this section, for example, this area, this is basically the context starts from here, then it goes like this. But when it comes to this one, it is a straight line. It talks about same thing without an interruption. Is clear? More clearer?
Yes, more clear.
Okay. And in these heading orders too, we actually try to keep everything at the same order. That's why, while talking about VPN configuration, VPN access, or how to find a VPN IP address or VPN link, or modifying the internet connection, or how does VPN work, or modify your internet connection, etc. We always try to actually stay on the same subject, anything related to VPN, and there is an order here too. And for example, the VPN service is at the beginning because it is the main purpose of the NordVPN becoming a service. So that's why it is at the top. But if you would like to write the same thing for a different website, the things actually will start to change a little further. And besides that, I guess, are these three clear? I can answer more questions.
Yeah, one more question about the first paragraph and the summaries. So, did I understood correctly that your suggestion is to not only to answer to the main question in the intro, but also to summarize the article?
Yes. Sometimes you can do it with a listicle by saying key takeaways, let's say, or the key points. So you can tell that key points about VPN, and you can put 4 or 5 different list elements there. It would be easier, and actually there are a couple of industry leaders who does it, in especially finance and insurance industries. But if you are able to touch overall things, the general things from the beginning, actually you will increase your possible satisfaction. And this research is actually about that too. And here they try to understand which title actually is better, and they try to understand if there's a click inversion, why it does actually happen as well. And in our situation too, when it comes to, for example, this web page, what is a VPN, how does it work? This is the general summary area, for example. And here they actually give the long version of the word, then they actually explain what does it do. It establishes a protected network connection, and when using the public networks, and as also they say that it is encrypt your internet traffic, disguise your online identity, and this is a kind of overall definition. But if you check the bottom areas when it comes to encryption, so this can be connected, for example, because we already told what VPN does. But we didn't talk about the history of VPN. We can actually tell it exists since 1960s. We also didn't talk about maybe how to surf securely with a VPN. Maybe we can talk about just a small portion of it, and we can give a few type names. And then we can write a couple of more other things from H2 areas to unite all these subsections. Then it means that actually from the beginning, you will be able to increase your possible visit satisfaction. And usually, if there are hundreds of or thousands of documents on the website, since it is not possible to change everything on these beginning areas, sometimes I just actually try to optimize these initial sections, the first 2 paragraphs or the first 3 paragraphs, then I move on. Even it actually increases the rankings further. I have done actually a simple, maybe it was this, no, sorry. Yeah. For example, this is an A/B test that I have performed, and these are samples and sample results from my test. The only thing that I have done in this website is that I have just added 3 questions per web page, and I have added 3 answers. And usually entities, they were from the same type. So the questions actually were always same. Answer also was always same. Let's say the answer structure was same, even if the information was different. And these 3 questions, they always actually have given more queries and more impressions and more clicks across 100 different samples. I have just published the 20 of them. And again here too, basically even this Kaspersky, maybe they can't write everything from zero, but they can at least fix the initial section. It won't be that hard. And even that will actually help them for relating this section to the next other areas a little easier. Okay.
I have a question that kind of holds this together. Sorry if I interrupted you.
It's okay.
But basically, as a person who specifically focuses on content SEO and not just landing pages, I always found very useful to also not just, straight up answer the question instantly, but also to tie in the sections together with really good, how to put it, transitional sentences between headings and whatnot. But these have been just my gut feeling, like, no actual stats, like many of the tests that you have done. Do you have any info perhaps on how much that impacts the whole readability on how you presented the vector going straight down by Google? Like, are transition parts and paragraphs and whatnot right before jumping into H2s and H3s, which may strafe away from the main topic, helping improve ranking because they're kind of serving as connecting dots, or is that not as relevant as just straight up being on top of the title?
First of all, actually, it is a little related to this area. First word seconds, subordinate text, second word seconds. While answering your question, I can try to answer them. I can try to mention these things a little. For example, when we say subordinate text, we actually mean the text that comes after the heading. So this is basically a heading and paragraph pair. And when the search engine actually starts to see a document as heading and paragraph pairs, they start to actually directly connect this one directly through this section. And the thing here is that when it comes to different types of answer scoring methodologies, maybe I can find them, like here, for example, featured snippet answer scoring, or this is actually a really good patent, scoring candidate passage answers, and especially Stephen DeBaker or Srinivasan Ventakari, or let me just check. Also, Massimiliano is one of the important researchers too. If you check this document here, for example, they actually start to explain why an answer after that heading is better than other. And there are multiple other scoring methodologies. One of them actually just measures the distance between the question and between the actual answer. For example, let's say I have asked a question, how does a VPN work? And I give the answer just here. So do you think that it will be logical? Asking question like at the top and answering it at around here. So in this case, the answer scoring engine will see that there is a huge distance between the question and between the answer, and they would actually decrease the quality of that answer or score of that answer. Another thing is that sometimes while answering the question in the heading, you will need to be direct as much as possible, but sometimes you will need to include some certain types of definitions as well. The difference between there is that sometimes we actually give an introductory answer or overall general answer, then we start to expand it further in another document. For example, if we open a new page, and if the H1 is how does VPN work, it means that this won't be our main answer for ranking that question. We will just try to answer this question overall. You don't need to be that direct. You will just need to create a transition between this area and this area. So whatever you put here, it will create a harmony between these two. And we will link this document and we will start to expand these VPN working principles, or we will try to explain how different types of VPNs work and what are the obstacles for them or what are the possible mistakes for them. Sometimes it might be necessary too. Another thing is that at the moment we have a few, maybe just a few game boards to understand how the search engine actually perceives the possible contextual flows. One of them is actually using pre-trained BERT models. As I just mentioned yesterday, there are different call-outs to understand how the BERT works. There is one more way. It is not that standard, but still actually Google NLP API. Sometimes it might help you to actually just try to understand a few things. For example, from their demo, just here, I will try to perform a kind of trying. I will take these sentences from Kaspersky, and I will put it here. So this is a well-known thing already. I won't dive in that much. The search engine, of course, they are able to understand what entities exist in this document. and they're able to understand what is the overall sentiment. They're able to understand which word has been connected to which word, in what way. We have talked about part of speech tag yesterday. As you can remember, it was here, part of speech info, which is just here. We have told that if there is a superlative in the question or the query, superlative will need to exist also in the answer, and these are some of the roles. And here too, they understand the roles, and this is a topic or topicality. And according to this language model, this is not the entire language model that Google uses. It is just a demo of one of their APIs. And they say that the main topic is actually VPN and remote access. So I will come back to the entities area here. And the thing here is that when you look at the salience, the search engine assumes that VPN is the heaviest concept in this entire paragraph. So it means that actually it has been created in a right way. But let's say I add one more sentence here, and let's say this sentence doesn't start with VPN. Let's say VPN is not the most important or only known in this introductory sentence. Then let's see how these scores actually changed together, and let's say network security is the, let's say, process of keeping an entire internet connection over computer network, let's say, secure. I just have given a random sample definition here. It can be wrong too. It's not the point. Let's check again the points. So now the salience of the VPN actually has been decreased. And now we have another salient, strong concept, which is network security. And if I go back to this one, now I see actually two different topics. One is actually with 61% or guess or possibility. It is actually again about VPNs, but a single sentence, it started to become about computer security now. So this is actually how we distract the context and broke the contextual vector. Was it clear or more clear?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So while writing too, we can try to imagine these differences, because until now there is not a tool that can enlighten or light the sentences according to these contexts. Most of the time while writing, we will need to use general rules, principles, and maybe basic instincts to feel these type of situations. And if I continue from this glossary here, we have already defined the subordinate text. And let's dive into the first word sequence and second word sequence a little further. And we already have an example here. The first sentence that you just see here, it is actually called first word sequence. As you remember from the expert yesterday, we actually talked about a little the word sequences already. When I actually update this area, as you see, these are word sequences, and they try to guess how these things actually can follow each other. And when I come here too, the first sentence that you just see here, it represents a word sequence, and this is the second word sequence. So why understanding these word sequences actually matter? And if I read this area, second word sequence contains the word connections from the second sentence. The second sentence that follows the first sentence of the subordinate text should have mutual words with the first sentence. So basically, if I use the concept of network security in this sentence, and if I also use some other sentences like process of keeping entire internet connection over computer, etc., you will need to use some of these words in the second sentence too, so that we can consolidate the relevance a little further. As you already again remember from yesterday, the TensorFlow projection or embedding projector. As you remember, this was just taking the co-occurrences or co-occurrence matrices from different types of documents. When I click to the master, I see also the word baby, or word robot, or word animal, or again robots, shooter, sky, anime, etc., or demon. So they actually understand which other words appear around that. And if you start to actually create these possible word sequences and word repetitions with a consistency, you will be actually stating that contextual domain a little better. The thing is, the search engine, they have a small attention span. Any guess what an attention span is?
I'd say about the first two sentences or so of a paragraph after a heading.
In a way, it's still close. Let me write here something. Attention is all you need. This is a kind of a word or a motto like to be or not to be among the NLP engineers. So attention is all you need means that actually, and this person especially, by the way, a Polish and a great scientist, by the way, maybe you can check. And the thing here is that when you say attention is all you need, the search engine or any kinds of computer, they don't check, as I say, they don't check entire document at once. Instead, they start to create a window like this. Then they check this section, and they check this one, and they check this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. The disadvantage of this system is that sometimes they can forget the relevance of this area to this section. And sometimes they might not see the connection of this area to this area because they follow everything like this. So since the machine has a limitation in terms of attention, they always use a specific window. The section outside of the window will need to be connected to this one in a careful way. If you don't connect, they can tell that this section talks about computer security and this section actually talks about VPN. And this section talks about maybe just commercial products or something like that. So since they actually use a small window, sometimes we will need to repeat these things. And using these mutual words, that's why I have kept this thing opened here. Sometimes if we use these mutual words between the first sentence and between the first and the second sentence, it will be easier for them actually to follow these types of things. Around here, I have many research papers, but one of them actually was just about this. It was about actually understanding the sentence structures and sentence relations to these things. Let me just check, maybe I can find. Maybe this, but no, it is not that. This is a little different. It's close but not entirely. Determine the context of the segments. But it is about actually understanding the visuals more rather than just text. This is also a different one. Okay, maybe I will need to check these things again a little further to be able to find it. You would like this document a lot. Ranking resources based on categorical quality and topic-sensitive page rank. They both are closely related, but I can explain these things a little later maybe. So when it comes to evidence-based ranking, evidence-based ranking focuses on sentences and their meanings. Any sentence with a, has a, is a, or does a relation is the topic of the evidence-based ranking. Evidence-based ranking tries to rank web documents based on their answers and words on the answers according to their accuracy and relevance. So we already know that from the yesterday, as you remember, they try to find different types of evidences to understand the accuracy of a website. The thing here is that maybe I can find it right now to be able to demonstrate it from the search engine's point of view. Let me just check. It was about fact extracting, but I guess maybe this. Let me just try to find it. So this document is actually about extracting facts from documents. And when it comes to this one, they will actually try to understand certain facts and certain attributes. So in other words, when you ask for how old Woody Allen is, they will actually take the specific age attribute from the attribute repository. Then they will actually extract a fact from your document and they will try to actually put them into a single place. If I open one of my slide shares, I will be able to demonstrate it a little cleaner. Maybe I should create more presentations like that because the documents, they are old. So if I demonstrate it from here, let me just find. For example, all of these examples are from Google, from Andrew Hook, by the way. And let me just try to find more relevant area to be able to demonstrate. Here, when you see this section, it says, this is a question, and the title of this slide is Understanding the Queries. And here, actually, the query says, one was Martin Luther King Jr. born. From the search engine point of view, their first target here is actually recognizing the entity, Martin Luther King Jr. Then they will actually take the attribute, which is just here as the born, and as the same as you see in this design. There is a flag extraction system, and this is the attribute repository, and they will need to choose the right attribute. And when I come to the next area, now they are actually taking the synonyms. When you say Martin Luther King Jr., the person is also called Dr. King or MLK, Martin Luther King, etc. These are synonyms. Then when it comes to the born, we also need to take the sections like date of birth, date born, DOB or appeared. Then we will need to rephrase the question with different format, like where was X born, when was X born, who invented X, etc. Then we will actually start to eliminate some of them. Then we will start to take all the answers, like birthplace, birth name, birth date, or birth. And answers are in different formats. One of them just says Atlanta, GA, Michael King Jr. It says the answer is not correct. This one says January 15. This one says January 15 again, but in a different format. So when it comes to evidence-based ranking, one of the things that the search engine will try to see is that how many questions do exist for this topic, and how many of them are answered by this website and in a correct way and in a unique way. So it is actually about ranking the documents or prioritizing the sources according to their evidence, and this categorical quality, ranking sources based on categorical quality. Again, this is from Google, and it is actually about this. And especially Tristan G. Apstell, he is a really important researcher again. And this actually explains that certain queries are from certain categories, and if we have some certain sources actually have a certain quality threshold, or if they exceed certain quality thresholds, we can start to rank them higher, and that's why it is called re-ranking. So in this case, whenever actually you acquire a strongest score for this area, a higher confidence, whenever you have a higher salience for this area, whenever you use actually the most related concepts with the correct word sequences, you are actually increasing your chance for ranking. And when you do it for every paragraph here, it means that things actually will go smoother. So yesterday I didn't explain these two. Today I will be able to explain them. It is strength-based ranking and coverage-based ranking. I have written the explanations here, but any guess what do they mean? Strength-based ranking and coverage-based ranking.
My guess would be that they measure how much in depth you go on the topic, how many different sides or facts or whatnot are you quoting and writing about.
Yeah, you're actually right, but you still think like the human. If you think like the machine, machines usually don't have that much chance to look at these things. For example, when it comes to dialogue systems, creating a dialogue system is extremely hard because humans, they always change the context while talking, and machine can't follow it. And that's why some of the new robots or robotics, they are really like magical because they are able to follow our context a little as better, and it surprises us. When it comes to the strength-based ranking and coverage-based ranking, we need to think a little more mechanically. So when it comes to search engine, what do we have first? The first thing that we actually have is, of course, a query. Or always, actually, we have a specific query. Let's say the stock market this time. And the thing is, let's say we have asked a question. I just make it is stock market open, let's say crash it. Let's say this is the question that we are asking here. And this is a little subjective question. For these type of questions, usually you won't see a web answer or feature snippet. Usually they will give a group of resources. But the thing here is that we can ask this type of a question. And when you ask this type of a question, search engine will need to actually use these two. When it comes to string-based ranking, there are two types of string. One is how many times the evidence is repeated on that web page, and how many times the same evidence is repeated across different web pages. Whenever you repeat it more, as you see here, we say birthplace Atlanta, GA. I am sure that there are sources that claim Martin Luther King Jr. born somewhere else too. When it comes to the search engine, there is a factor that we call embarrassment. The factor of embarrassment, imagine that you are searching on the web for is President Joe Biden a communist? And let's say Google says yes. So it's a scandal right now. And it means that actually you will need to go to the court as a Google engineer. And let's say someone asks a question whether is Batman real? Let's say the search engine puts an answer there by saying yes, Batman is real, and he actually lives in New York City, which is a reflection of the Gotham. So let's say we see a feature snippet like that, and now it is actually again a problem, and it is called embarrassment factor. The search engines can't accept every answer that they see. They will need to see that specific answer a couple of times more from you or from other sources. If they see that there is extensive amounts of source that repeats the same thing, they will assume that it is the right answer, and then they will start to use it as an evidence in their knowledge graph. Maybe I can explain the knowledge graph a little later. But basically, string-based ranking is seeing the same answer across different websites, web pages, and also on your web page as well. When it comes to coverage, it is not about how well you cover the topic. It is about the connection or connectedness between the question and between the answer. And these things will need to have mutual words. If I ask for is market crashing, or let's use the previous question, let's say, what is the significance of American Civil War? I will just ask it that question again. So we have this answer right now, and they say that one nation and blah blah blah. Sometimes it changes, sometimes it doesn't. I will ask the question with the word importance. It doesn't change the meaning, but let me just check. We have the same answer again, which is actually good. But if you change actually the question format that you are using, or if you also change some of the words that you are using in the question, you might realize that results might change. Maybe the first result here, it didn't change. Let me just search the same thing with the word significance again. And let me put these two side by side. So this is, let me just search it like that. Okay. So this is this asks what is the importance of American Civil War. This asks what is the significance of American Civil War. The meaning is same. And the first answer is also same. So we are okay with that. But when you look at some bottom areas, the chosen descriptions, they might start to actually a little change. Sometimes the order or the rankings of these things also may change too. If one of the websites, if they have the word significance on the domain, or if they have the same word on a different area, it might start to change. And we have an example here. For example, here at the fourth rank, we actually have Wikipedia. Let me expand this section a little further and come here. So here we have the Wikipedia after the history.com, and here we have the archives.gov. Another thing is that here we have another result from history.com, but here we don't have it. And what is the reason for that? Even if we ask the same thing, the word significance and the word importance, they actually mean same thing, but their distance to the other words is not the same. I will make the search again to show you that actually it doesn't happen just because the search engine actually uses two different things. I will come here too. At the 4, again, we have archives. Here we have the the Wikipedia. Then now here at the 5, here we have ARP. Here we have the Spark Notes. And when I come back here, there is one more issue here too. The word importance here, sometimes you might see some similar words to do that, like paved, for example. It is not that similar in the dictionary, but the word paved actually, it actually signals its importance there. And when you look at some other ones here too, you can actually see some different words or different sections. For example, had a greater impact. This shows the prominence again. And if you see some others, they might show different things. We can repeat the same process with something else. Let's say how to improve. Let's say credit score. And here let's ask how to increase credit score. And let's check from improve to increase. So here we have the Experian at the second rank, and here we have the actual NerdWallet right now. And the thing here is we have the word improve. That's why actually most probably it comes. When it comes to the NerdWallet, we don't have the word, actually we have the word improve here too, but apparently Experian, they use this match directly with the query for ranking one line more. So when you start to perform these minimetric explanations or minimetric examinations, you will actually start to see that this coverage section, coverage-based ranking, it is actually the coverage of the words in the query in directly answer. In other words, if you see some certain words in the question or in the query, you will need to repeat and expand them further in the answer. If you use the same words, it means that you are answering to that question, because search engines' fear here is that they can actually serve a different answer for a different question. As yesterday, let me just show it again. Evidence aggregation from OpenWeb. And you remember this example, which physicist, mathematician, and astronomer? They have two candidates because this answer has these words. The physician, mathematician, and astronomer, they appear here too. And they assume that this might be answered, but it's not, because they also know that certain words like discovered, for example, they are more important. And in this case, they know that actually this answer is more convenient for that. So I will explain this one too, then we can end. And declaration and proposition. We already know them actually. Any kinds of sentence that gives a fact or factual information is a declarative sentence. So I will read a sentence here. Birds will fly tomorrow morning. Do you think that is this a declaration or proposition? Any guess?
Probably declaration.
From the dictionary meaning it might be, but from logic point of view or epistemology, this is actually not a declaration because it is not a factual information. Because this is just, when you say will, it starts to become a guess or it starts to become your vision or your imagination. But if you just say birds fly, this is a fact or factual information. So it means that this is a proposition right now. If you say birds can fly tomorrow morning, again, this is not a declaration because it just states a possibility right now. But if you say birds can fly, now it is a factual information. If you say birds in America can fly, there are two different possibilities here. The machine can't be that sure because the birds in America can fly word, if you read it like the American birds can fly, now it is a fact. But if you say birds in America, if you mean the American bird breeds, it's a fact. If you just mean the geography America in a different way, now this is just actually your vision or a kind of narrowing sentence there. It might be a little complicated, but most of the time in the feature snippets, you won't see answers that include the word will, for example, or may, or might. Most of the time you don't see these, unless the question or the query includes them, or unless the specific source, like in Wikipedia, unless it is highly authoritative. So by saying certain types of sentence structures, actually we mean them. And for evidence-based aggregation, we need factual sentences. Instead of saying can fly, will fly, we should say just flies. The factual one in a direct way. So we will continue from these things. There will be more explanations, there will be more examples together. And whenever you want, you can also start writing these things as much as possible. There might be some slight issues in the brief as well. If you see a repeated question, please let me know, because I have arranged some of these things with my team members, and sometimes I am not able to fix everything that they do that much. So if you see such a thing, please let me know. But whenever you want, we can actually start writing these things together, and we can see the query increases or impression increases, click increases together as well. Now, before the end, I can answer your questions if you have.
Me again with one question about the factual data, basically the evidence-based ranking. Based on the type of query, for example, how old is X versus when was X born? Does this become an issue? For example, let's say today we write an article that, I don't know, like LeBron James is 37, but next year he's not going to be 37. Will we need to keep updating that? Is it, you know, is that something that Google takes into account? I mean, I know you will need to update your...
Yes, it is called content decay, and if your document starts to outdate it, it will start to be a problem for you as well. That's why usually while writing in my briefs, I also state that instead of saying is X person is 47 years old, give the birth date so the person actually can calculate it. Because most probably we won't have enough time to update it in next year or even next month.
Yeah, that's why I asked, because I was curious, you know, is it a better practice to just always use the date of birth?
Yes, definitely, because it doesn't change. Any other question?
I see that you have quite a lot of extensions. Maybe you can have a list and use it.
Yeah, I can give them. Actually, when I was a sole consultant, I was using all of them in a highly active way. But when you have an agency, you won't have enough time to click everything here. But still, I can give them. This is from you, by the way. I tried to use the VPN. I couldn't that much. The Turkey is not a convenient country for using the VPNs. But the rest, I can give them, of course.
Cool, thanks.
You're welcome. Any other question? I will be happy to answer. Okay. Okay, then I guess we don't have that much questions, Edwin. Huh. Okay.
You showed that Google developers API and NLP and
this one.
yes, it would be quite interesting to use it like for updating our content pieces and or maybe for landing pages. Is there a more suitable tool for a convenient tool to get this type of data, or
actually there is, and it is cheap, and I guess TextRaiser is also from Poland too. I'm not sure, but I remember it in that way. And even if you use just their demo here, you will realize that actually TextRaiser gives more information than Google Cloud NLP API, and you will have more categories, you will have more word sense disambiguation or phrases or relations and entities. They will also give the confidence and relevance score. Confidence score here represents with what possibility we are talking about this specific entity, and relevance mentions with what relevance we are using this entity in the document. And if you use the TextRaiser, it will be better, but you have to use these things in a comparative way. If you just take these things and use it for your own content, it won't be good enough. You will need to use the same API for your competitor and for yourself. Then you will need to compare these scores, these numbers, then you will start to have some certain SOP for yourself. As I do here, you will need to use certain word sequences or structures or sentence structures. Then you will start to increase actually your overall relevance. But one of the obstacles here is that even if you understand everything that Google perceives or prefers, to be able to implement these things with 15 different other people, you will need to always have a simplistic SOP, as I try to do, like use this sentence rather than this, or this one rather than this. It is already here too, I guess, in the briefs area. You can see these algorithmic authorship rules. Most of them actually come from these type of calculations or observations from the SERP. Like here.
Cool, very good. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Maybe in that case, when you leave us a list with all the extensions, you can leave a list with tools. Like I'm pretty sure we have many of the tools, but I'm pretty sure we're gonna find at least a few that we don't. That could
Okay,
be.
of course, for NLP, right?
Just in general, like the stuff that you use in general with SEO, and perhaps, you know, if it's not too much of a hassle, you can kind of, like, for example, leave the tool and let us know in which topic you were covering here. For example, Razor text with NLP.
Okay, I can try to create that kind of sheet maybe for you too. You can check them, but lately I don't use that much tools, to be honest, in SEO. Usually I just design things in these Google Sheets by examining the SERP. Then I just check the articles. I even don't use Google Search Console that much, to be honest. I usually use them just while writing the case study. But I can create a list of these type of things so that you can check them as you wish.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, Edwinas, I guess we have filled the time today. I will try to explain the rest of the concepts yesterday by starting. I am happy to see everyone here as well. And thank you for all the questions. I will be uploading the recording of today to the recording folder in this area. I guess it will be in this section, and maybe just check lectures, it says. Here, this is from yesterday, and today I will upload another one here too, and you can watch it whenever you want. And see you tomorrow.
Thanks. See ya.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.